Hi everyone, and welcome to our channel. Today we'll be discussing the Arduino IDE and how it can be used to enhance your future projects. The Arduino Integrated Development Environment is an open source platform consisting of programmable hardware and software used to write and upload code. Using a simplified version of C++, you'll create much of your code in this window called a sketch. At the top of the toolbar, you'll find Verify, which checks your code for any spelling errors or missing punctuation. Often errors will be highlighted in orange to show where a correction is needed. Next is Upload, which is where you'll upload your completed code to the Redboard, followed then by New, which opens a new sketch. Next is Open, where you can search and open any previous saved sketches. And lastly is Save, which is where you can save any code you've created in that sketch. Each blank sketch will have two preset functions that are essential to every sketch: void setup and void loop. Don't worry, we'll talk more about this later in the video. And at the very bottom of your sketch is the IDE message box. This will give you the status of your code or whether an error was detected. Now we'll move on to functions and how they're used to group or fragment code. A function is an action that a computer takes and has several advantages when applied. 1. Functions help the programmer stay organized. 2. Functions reduce chances for errors and modification if the code has to be changed. 3. Functions make your sketch smaller, especially when sections of code are reused many times. And 4. Functions make it easier to reuse code in other programs. Functions always contain parentheses immediately after their names. Here are some examples of functions you will most commonly experience. Pin mode is used to configure a specific pin to behave either as an input or output. Digital write is used to write a high 5V or low 0V value to a digital pin. Digital read is used to read a value of a pin either high or low. Which brings us to two core functions of the Arduino sketch: setup and loop. Void setup will run once at the very beginning of your program. Inside the curly brackets is code you want to set up as soon as your project starts running. Void loop is called repeatedly within your program. Inside the curly brackets is code that runs over and over performing actions or computations. This is where the bulk of your Arduino sketch will reside. If you are completely new to text-based computer programming, outlined here are some useful information. 1. Code is grouped into functions. There are some exceptions, but generally all code is grouped into functions. 2. Code is called in order. Within each function, each line starts with the first line. 3. Code lines end with semicolons. Typically, lines of code are all one line. However, sometimes lines of code can span over multiple lines, and the way to tell the line is over is to end it with a semicolon. 4. Double slashes indicate a comment. Computer programmers use double slashes to explain what your code does or to remove some code without deleting it. Now that you've become familiar with some of the basics of coding, we're now going to jump into our first coding activity. For this activity, we'll be going a step further from our circuits and electricity video by changing the jumper cable connected to the 5V pin and moving it to a digital pin. For this activity, you will need one breadboard, a 10K ohm resistor, one LED, and two male-to-male jumper cables. Start by connecting one jumper cable from the ground on your breadboard to the negative power rail of your breadboard. Next, take your LED and connect the cathode to the negative power rail on your breadboard. Then take the anode and place it in the nearest terminal strip. In the same row of the terminal strip, place one end of your 10K ohm resistor. Then take the opposite end of the resistor and place it in another terminal row. Lastly, in the terminal strip where the resistor is inserted, take your last jumper cable and connect the terminal strip to pin 3 of the digital pins on your breadboard. Now launch your Arduino IDE. Under File, click on New to open a new sketch and add the following code into your sketch, which translate to: when my program starts, open 5V on pin 3 to light up the LED. Keep in mind certain functions should be highlighted in specific colors like void setup or pin mode. If they don't, make sure to double check for spelling and punctuation. At this point, before you upload a finished sketch, we need to confirm your USB connection to the Redboard. From the Arduino IDE toolbar, select Tools, Scroll down and click on Board from the drop-down menu. Here you want to make sure you are set to Arduino Genuino Uno. Now returning back to the drop-down menu, click on Port. Here you want to make sure you select COM with the highest number. It is important that you do this process every time you plug in an Arduino to your Redboard. Now you're connected to the Redboard and ready to upload your code. Verify your code once more, then click Upload. If your LED lights up, congratulations, you successfully completed a circuit. However, if your LED doesn't light up, don't worry. Recheck your code and connections once more using the diagram from this video. Thanks for watching, and please let us know if you have any questions in the comment section below, and be sure to check out our other videos on our First Nations Mesa channel.